You're watching Pyro Media Network.
Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Hello, I'm back. Yes, I would say Happy New Year, but we're in February. So I will just say, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back, y'all. I am happy to be back. It's just Kim. Yes, the show where we like to dive into things about girls, all things girl stuff. We talk about relationships, empowerment, relationships, all kinds of things, aging. Remember that show about menopause? Hilarious, right? Family, whatever it is that is important to us as ladies, that's what we talk about. So I'm here today to share my thoughts about things that are important to me. While I invite you in to, share your experiences and share your opinions. So let's get to it. So today, I'm so excited about this show today, y'all. I really am excited I'm excited about the show, and I'm excited about my guest. I am. I'm excited about her, and I'm so excited about her that I want to read her bio. But first, I want to tell you what our show. I know you guys saw the title of the show. I'm Not Your Superwoman. I'm Not Your Superwoman. Y'all remember that song? But there really is a superwoman syndrome or issue or whatever you want to call it. And so this particular superwoman thing, I know about it. I know it's true. It's not just a thing people have made up, because I have experienced it my own self. Okay. Try to be superwoman, trying to be all things to all people at all times. And you know what? Sometimes that just does not work. So it really refers to the pressure of us women, and sometimes us, especially women of color, doing our best to be great, amazing, just perfect at everything, all the roles that we wear, being a mom, being a wife, being in relationships with friends, your personal stuff, your personal growth, and then at the same time, trying to be perfect at all these things, trying to maintain like a perfect image, trying to make sure that you always look like you're good, you're okay, there's nothing wrong, or, killing yourself trying to get in the gym and lose all that weight, and, all the things we do, the hair, just all the things that we as women do. Sometimes that Superwoman syndrome will get locked in our heads, and then we will wear ourselves out. We will wear ourselves out. So tonight I have a very special guest. Yes, very special guest. We're gonna dive into this. She's gonna help us with some things. Her name is Dr. Arease Edison. She is, and I want to read her bio. Okay, so just don't worry if I look away. Okay, she's a seasoned licensed marriage and family therapist through the California Board of Behavioral Sciences. So she's a real deal. She's renowned for her experience in guiding individuals through the past traumas with compassion, demeanor, and a keen understanding of the human psyche. Dr. Edison's therapeutic approach combines deep empathy and evidence-based techniques to foster a safe and effective space for individuals to confront their emotions and courage and the tools necessary to lead lives. I want to skip down to this part. I think that's really important, because even though we can be professional women, there are some things that are still very important to us, despite wearing all the hats that she does, because she also has a business, y'all. And I'll let her tell you about that. She has a business of essential oils, healing oils. I have them here in my house. I have a candle. I have some. I'll let her tell you about them. But despite wearing all the many different hats, from a dedicated therapist, entrepreneur to the community volunteer, she finds her greatest fulfillment in nurturing her son, Caleb, and he's a cutie pie too, and creating a loving home with her husband, Greg. Whether it's singing the theme song to Peppa Pig or having a date night, Dr. Edison's love for her family is the foundation, I love this, of her happiness, bringing a sense of purpose and boundless gratitude in each day. So I want to invite to our platform, Dr. Arease Edison, just a good person all the way around. Come on in, sis. Hey there.
Hello, how are you?
I am great. You know what? Actually, today I'm great. I'm a little tired. I can't lie about that. I'm a little tired. They're making me earn my coin, okay? But I'm good. I'm really in a good space. And I know, we work at the same place. And so, Dr. Edison is always asking us, where are you? Are you okay? Is everything going all right? And today I can actually say that I am good. I am good. So thank you for always being concerned about us at work. So tonight, I invited you because I felt like you would be the perfect person to talk about this. Not just because you're a therapist, but because you're a sister and you have many hats that you wear. And then I also know that you keep it real. And so I love to invite people to my show who do just that. They keep it real. We don't fake. We're not fake or phony here. I tell people all the time, I'm a first lady, but I'm a sister. I'm a woman. I'm a first, and sometimes people can put you up on a pedestal in a very uncomfortable place, because of your title or because of different things. Mm-hmm. And you'll be stuck up there trying to live a life or trying to live an image that you just can't keep up, cannot keep up. So tonight, I want to talk about, really, this was kind of birthed out of something. It was like some thoughts that I had going on in my head. And I was telling my producer, we were having a meeting. And so I was telling him, I said, it's funny because, when I got triggered when they took away the bags that they used to give you at the grocery store. I got fully triggered, right? I'll tell you why I got triggered. Because I'm always in this place mentally, emotionally, where I'm always trying to prove that I'm doing the right thing. Always trying to prove that I'm doing the right thing. And so I was telling him, I said, there would be times where I would be walking out of the store and I would be holding my item up in my hand with the receipt. like I'm waving a flag, you know? And I know it had a lot to do with me being a Black woman, you know, but I think a lot of it had to do with how I felt about myself, always trying to do the right thing, always trying to be in the right place at the right time, always trying to be everything that I need to be to everyone that I need to be it to.
Mhm.
And so I started, you know, reading about this Superwoman syndrome. And so I shared a little bit about it before we brought you in. And so I'll read it again. It says the Superwoman syndrome refers to the pressure many women feel to be great, amazing, perfect in multiple roles, right? Your career, your family, your personal growth, you know, the things that you're trying to do personally. And all at the same time, you're trying to maintain this image of perfection, like you got it all together. Like sometimes even like you don't struggle, and even sometimes trying to do it without asking for help. And that was one thing that I had to learn how to do, was ask for help. And so I was looking at some of the things that they were saying, like some of the signs of the Superwoman syndrome. It's a real thing, right? Is feeling guilty when resting. And I think you and I had that conversation, feeling guilty when you're resting. It could be a Saturday when I have nothing to do and I lay on the couch, turn on the TV. Now, I don't feel this way anymore. And I would just be like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing something. I need to wash some clothes. I need to do something. And that's not always the case. So feeling guilty about resting, always prioritizing other people over yourself, trying to be perfect, trying to keep the house perfect. I have 4 kids, you know, and so 3 of them were born, it's like the old people say, I had 2 sets of kids. I had 3 first, and then to have my baby Zion. And so she's 11 years after my son. And I remember just being super busy when they were young. And then when I had Zion, you know, it was a little easier. But I just remember one day, this one little funny story, and then we're going to get to it. One little funny story. So my 2 best friends had came to my house. I lived in Marietta at the time. So they had came up to the house, and we were just going to have like a girls' day. We was just going to hang, talk, laugh, whatever. And so Zion was little, and she was there. And so in our family room, right off the kitchen where we were hanging out, there was like her whole big basket of toys. So she had this wonderful habit of going, she would just dump the whole thing, just dump it.
Know what you're saying. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
It's the thing. Yes.
She would just dump it. And so I got used to it. So she would play with her toys, and then she would move on and do something else. So I remember that day, she had dumped all the toys, and then she had went somewhere else, and she was doing something else. And so I walked away from my friends, and I went over, and I'm still talking, but I'm putting toys up, cleaning up, you know, and they're like, hey, my one friend Tiffany, she said, hey, you over there, you. Come here. I was like, what? She said, leave that right where it is. She said, it's not going to kill you for that stuff to stay over there. Come over here. We drove all the way up here. You come over here and enjoy us. Yeah. I had to throw my hands up and say, you know what? You are right. You're absolutely right. So what are your thoughts on this whole Superwoman thing?
Well, I think it's something that we struggle with. A lot of women struggle with, you know. I think this idea that we have to be perfect. And I think too, the way we were raised plays a big role in that, of I remember my grandmother, the house needs to be clean. Everything has its proper place. So these are messages that we receive growing up, and we then start to allow that to shape our current view of what we need to be. And so my husband's grandmother always reminds me, well, back then, we would work, or sometimes they would stay home, but both people are working now. And I think what she's saying is we have to really give ourselves some grace. And I have to say, I struggle with that as well, because when you talked about sitting on the couch, being able to watch something without the guilt of the clothes are calling me, I should go and wash the dishes, I should go and organize my closet or my shoes. And it's when do you give yourself grace to just be? And I think that's something that we adopt this busyness as a lifestyle. If I'm not busy, I'm not being productive. If I'm not busy,
Yes.
I'm not being effective. If I'm not busy, I'm not doing anything. And sometimes doing nothing is a blessing.
Yes, yes, you are absolutely right. Sometimes doing nothing is really very healing.
Yes.
Sometimes, I think sometimes when I'm home by myself, I can just sit without the television on.
Right.
I don't even have to have music playing or anything, and
Mhm.
just sit with my thoughts, and think about some things. And but then sometimes that little guilty
Yeah.
feeling creeps in, and you're just like, okay, enough of that. Let me just go and, like you
Mhm.
said, go organize the shoes. Let me, wash these clothes, or let me scrub the floor, or,
Mhm.
and always trying to be perfect. And you're right. I think we were raised that way. We were raised that way, that everything had to be clean, perfect. You got to scrub the stove every time, wipe down those counters, get that vacuum cleaner out. I had a good friend when I was growing up in high school. Now her mother was extreme. They
Mhm.
had to mop the floor every night,
Yeah.
every single night. Not only just sweep, we had to sweep the floor every night, right?
Mhm.
Now I get my little my broom vac. I
Those
don't
are
sweep no
amazing, by
floor.
the way. Those are the best
Yes.
thing ever.
Yeah, they are. But every day they had to mop the floor. And I remember her telling me how every morning before they left to go to school, they had to like clean that house top to bottom. And I can only imagine now. I mean, we're not really in contact now, but I can only imagine like how a lot of that stuck with her. And sometimes I wonder, it's like, wow, I wonder if she's making her kids do that.
Ooh,
Are
that's
we
good.
perpetuating those same things,
Mhm.
to our the generations that come after us? And so I think, and don't get me wrong, folks, it's nothing wrong with having a clean house. I love a clean house. I love everything being in its
Yeah.
proper place. That's just how I am.
Mhm.
But there does come a time where I do need to stop, and like you said, give myself some grace to just enjoy doing nothing. Why do
Mhm.
you think we feel so guilty about doing nothing?
I think you bring up an interesting point. And I was talking to one of my clients earlier today, and we were talking about this guilt suggests that we're doing something wrong. And I believe it has a lot to do with our core beliefs. As Black and Brown people, as people of color, a lot of times our worth was based upon us performing in some capacity. If
Yeah.
I the kitchen and did an amazing job with, the dishes, and I got A's on my spelling test, then I was
Mm.
worthy of praise. But if I didn't do that, I
Wow.
got scolded. And so that really perpetuates this core belief of like, I need to be perfect. I need to do something in order to receive, messages that I'm worthy and I'm deserving. And so these messages that we receive when we're younger, they really do shape our outlook when we start to grow up. And so that's why some people can sit on the couch and be like, I'm doing nothing today, and I don't care what anybody says. And other
Yeah.
people are like, I have to do. So this need to perform and to gain praise or validation because we're doing something is killing a lot of us. And so when do
Mm.
we learn to just be? I think sometimes it's like, instead of doing the dishes, and my husband will say this all the time, like, okay, you don't have to cook. If you're going to cook and you're going to get exhausted and tired, just don't cook. We can go and get something to eat. Just come sit
Yeah.
down. And I
Yeah.
think about us being mindful of like what's important. I used to always think like hard work pays off. No matter what, you got to
Mhm.
work hard. And I
Mhm.
remember my husband like, yeah, it's gonna work out. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? And it would really work out for him. And so
Yeah.
when I saw that perspective, I was like, wow, I have to sit back and rethink what my core beliefs are, what my values are based upon the messages I received when I was younger, because that's not necessarily what I feel and what I think is important today. So I think you're right.
Mhm.
This idea of being right, doing the right thing, it's like I'm constantly trying to prove that I'm right, because to think that I could be wrong, or I could drop the ball, or I didn't pay for my bag because I was
Yeah.
rushing, I may
Yeah.
fail, stop me, and the buzzer will go off. I think it is about that really rings true to, if I'm found doing something I shouldn't be doing, or if I'm doing the wrong thing, then I'm bad.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you say that because I remember one time, this is before the new climate, people, but I was in Target, okay? And I remember, I don't even know how this happened. I had like a
Mhm.
lot of things in my basket, and I'm like, hey, I'm paying for everything. But I had this big, huge area rug, and the
Mhm.
girl never rang it up.
Yeah.
So, I roll out of the store, and I get to my car, and for some reason I just take a look at my receipt. And I do not see, I think the rug was like maybe like $79 or something. And I kept thinking in my mind when I was leaving, boy, I thought this stuff was going to cost more than that. But,
Mhm.
and when I got out there, I was like, oh my God, I didn't pay
Mhm.
for this rug. I started looking around like, somebody gonna come tackle me, and I was like, I am not taking this rug home with me. So
Mhm.
I went back into the store and I told the girl, I said, I didn't pay for this rug. I
Mhm.
said, you didn't bring this rug up. And she goes, did you really bring that rug back in here? I said, yes, ma'am. I
Uh-huh.
said, I can't compromise, who I
Mhm.
am,
Mhm.
just and not even that I did it by accident,
Mhm.
but just the feeling. I probably wouldn't even be able to lay that rug out on the floor at my house because it's just something about doing the right thing that, keeps me, I feel like it keeps me grounded, but
Mhm.
sometimes it makes me a little paranoid,
Yeah.
that I'm
Yeah.
always doing the right thing, even when I don't intend to do the wrong
Mhm.
thing. So that's something that I think sometimes I've struggled with. But let me ask you this. I think sometimes the whole Superwoman thing
Mhm.
has a lot to do with us not being able to say no,
Yeah.
not being
Yeah.
able to say no to
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
I, I have a lot of things and a lot of people that I'm responsible for, and
Mhm.
sometimes I just have to say no.
Yeah.
There was a person who reached out to me on Sunday, and we were getting ready to, go to my daughter's house for the Super Bowl. And she felt like she needed to talk to me in that moment about something. And
Mhm.
so I said, you know what? If this is extremely important, okay. But right now I'm getting ready to go spend time with my family. It's the Super Bowl, you know. And she said, you know what? I understand. I'm okay with that. But
Mhm.
there was a time in my life, Dr. Edison, when I wouldn't do that. I
Right.
would have pulled away to the side and I would have gotten on the phone and I would have dealt with whatever that was.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And I remember when Dr. Rita Walker had came last year
Mhm,
with us,
mhm.
and before she got in the elevator, she reminded me it's okay to say no, right? Like you don't have to be all things
Wow.
to all people, and you have to
Wow.
remember when you say yes to things, what version of you is showing up. And so
Mm,
I would feel that same way. And I think, and this is a good sector to talk about this, where a lot of times in church, pastor would always tell us how you feel doesn't matter. Come on up here. God's going to
mm,
use you. God's going to bless you. And it's like you
mhm.
would get up and you would serve and you would minister. You would do all of these things and you would go home. And it was the expectation that the joy of the Lord would somehow lift you up, but you're still tired.
I'm
And so
still
I
tired.
understand bringing our yes to God and all of that. But I do also think our yes to people and our yes to ourselves has to be
Mhm.
just as strong. And so I'm very
Yeah.
mindful of like the things I say yes to. And I think too, realizing what you need matters. And so I think even sometimes in our lives, it's like we put other people before ourselves and we make
Yeah.
this sacrifice continuously, like our sacrifices and our self denial will somehow pay off. And then when it doesn't, we're resentful. And
Oh
so
my
I
God.
do think, yeah, and I do think it's something that we have to think about. When I say yes, what version of me are these people getting? Is this service getting? What am I giving? And being able to know when you're at capacity. You talk a lot about burnout and stress, and even like slowing down. I think one of the things I was thinking
Mm,
about before I got married, I would do this date night with myself. And so I would light some candles
mm,
and I would take a hot bath. And it was so necessary when I was doing my dissertation. And one of the things I came to appreciate, what I was doing was learning to sit with myself and learning to
mm.
listen what I needed. And so when you're doing this body scan and you feel this warm water around you and you smell these essential oils, being able to ask yourself, how am I? How am I doing really? Like the real me, not the
Yeah.
made up with my lashes and nails and all this stuff. No,
Right,
in
right.
raw form, how am I doing? What do I need? And how do I get those needs met aside from somebody else? So really knowing our capacity and being able to say no and being able to say, be mindful of what we're saying yes to. I think that's important. I think that could be life changing for women.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it gives you a sense of empowerment as well when you can say no and be okay with the fact that you said no. You know, my father-in-law used to say, you know, no is a complete sentence. You don't
Yes.
have to follow it up with,
Hmm.
I'm going to have to say no because, or, you know, no with some explanation.
Mhm.
No, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. That's it.
I
That's all you get.
And that takes practice. I think that takes practice. And I think when you've said yes so long, you know, sometimes we have this people pleasing aspect of us. And so we want to say yes
Mhm.
and we want to, you know, please people and make people happy. But I think too, even us asking for help when we need it, like that's something that we struggle with. And so being able to recognize when I judge other people because they ask for help, I more than likely am judging myself when I need help. And so I think it
Oh,
is about being able to say, I am saying no because I don't have the capacity to do that. And quite frankly, Lady Kim, I just don't want to. I don't want
yeah,
to.
yes. How
I,
about that?
no,
How
thank you.
about I just don't want to? There was a question, somebody asked the question, Kwame, how do you respectfully say no and not feel as if you're not being supportive? I
That,
think that's, you kind of said that.
yeah. And I think too, what we have to realize is support is different for everybody. If you
Mm,
ask me to come and bake a cake, I'm not going to be able to do that. One, because it's not my strength. And two,
mhm.
I'm not going to frustrate myself trying to do something that you expect me to do, knowing it's not within my wheelhouse. I think your intention matters. And so there's a way that you can say no. It's like, hey, I really want to support you. And I know how important that is. But unfortunately, you have to say no. And Lady Kim, one of the things I learned too, since being a mother is, you know, something as simple as like, my kid's tooth needs to be pulled out and I don't want to do it and I don't feel strong enough to do it. But
Yeah.
if you don't do it, how is it going to get done? So being able to
Mm,
say, no, my kid's not feeling well, I'm not going to be able to make it. And not feeling like you always have to give an explanation as to why. You know, sometimes
yeah.
we explain because it's like that's the people pleasing part of us, or that's the part of us that feels like we're going to get in trouble. But it's
Yeah.
okay to.
Yeah, I like that. I like what you just said, that talking about that pleasing, people pleasing part of ourselves. Because I know that there was a time where that was like, that was it for me. You
Mhm.
know, I felt like if everybody wasn't happy, I
Yeah.
remember being a younger woman
Mhm.
and feeling like if everybody wasn't smiling at me, if everybody didn't seem happy with me, then I must have been doing something wrong, you know. And so then you get into that people pleasing thing. So
Mhm.
you're trying to run around and be, you know, or allow people to treat you a certain way, you know, and it's like, nah, I had to learn how to go, I can't do that anymore.
Mhm.
Like you said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I think
Mhm.
that's something, whoever asked that question, I think you have to like learn, you have to teach yourself how to do that. And you have, the best way is to learn is to practice. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to practice saying, no, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do that. Or is there another way that I can help you? I can't
Mhm.
help you this way, but
Mhm.
perhaps I can help you that way. Or maybe
Mhm.
I can't help you right now, but I can help you later, you
Mhm.
know, when it's more, a little more convenient for me. And if later is not going to work,
Mhm.
then perhaps you're not the person that they need to help them. Yeah, people pleasing can be draining. She said people pleasing can be
Yeah.
draining.
Yes.
Yes,
I think
yes. So
it's
I feel like even that part,
mhm.
the people pleasing, we get into pushing ourselves um, to our limits. Okay.
Ex-
Well, we're going to talk about pushing ourselves to our limits when we come back. We're going to go to a commercial. We'll be right back. Y'all stay. Okay, we're back and we've been talking about that Superwoman syndrome. Okay, y'all don't forget to like, to share, and subscribe. Okay, help a sister out. All right. All right. So yes. So the title of our show today is "Getting in Trouble." Wow. Yeah, sometimes you do. I mean, you could be grown as grown, right? And still feel like you're gonna get in trouble. I don't know what that's about, but you still feel that way. You just feel like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't do this right or do that right. So I get that. But the thing I want to talk about now is pushing ourselves like either to our limit or over our limit. And not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, even spiritually sometimes, pushing yourself, and I think sometimes, tell me what you think about this. I think sometimes that we glorify exhaustion. I think we glorify, oh, girl, I'm so tired. Ooh, I think we got on something like that. Oh, I'm so tired. Yeah, I did this today. I did that. Oh my God. I went here, I went there, I did all these things. And we glorify being exhausted. We glorify being super busy.
I chuckled a little too hard there. I felt that. That is so us. And it's funny. I was talking to Michelle Dolphin yesterday, and she said, Dr. Edison, you for a while were saying how exhausted you were. I will tell her and Dr. I am so exhausted. Not even tired, Lady Kim. I am exhausted. But I think what I realized from those statements is like, what is it that you're really saying? Do you need peace or do you need rest? And so I think when we're saying I'm tired, it's like, okay, is this something that a full night's sleep can cure? Or is this something like you have to go to your closet or to your ocean or wherever you need to go to get some peace and some joy from? And I think too, one of the important things that we don't talk about a lot of times as women is like, what I'm able to do. Like, this is my capacity. Like, I can do this, this, and this. And then if I do this, I'm done. And so being able to know those boundaries for ourselves of like, I can probably do the clothes and I could probably clean the refrigerator out, but after that, I'm done. Or I can probably do this assignment, but I can't take this task on. Being able to set a boundary for yourself isn't wrong. It's just really you taking care of yourself. And so I don't know that we've been taught to do that. I don't know that as women, we're taught to say, I've had enough, or no, thank you, or I'm not able to do that. And like Bishop was saying, that I'm going to get in trouble. Who's going to get you?
Right. Somebody going to spank me?
Well, be careful there.
Well, I mean, unless I want to.
Right. But I think it is like, who is that? Who is they? Right? Who is what? And is that the expectation of like the expectation that I have of myself is to push myself until I'm exhausted, and then that means I did a good job?
Yeah. Isn't that something? I mean, to like push yourself until you are just worn thin, and then really to kind of glorify in that, to kind of go, oh yeah, I did all these things, when really you're just wearing yourself out, and then you're not good for yourself. You're not good for anyone else, and then you can't even enjoy some of the things that you worked so hard to do, that you pushed yourself so hard to do. You can't even enjoy it. I think sometimes we need to like redefine what it means to be productive without hurting ourselves. We can be productive. It's okay to be productive. It's okay to, like today, I've been going to one of our offices because there is a task that I'm supposed to do there. I have not gotten a chance to do it because I'm so busy with so many other things. So I was telling myself today, you've been productive, but if I tried to stay there another hour and work on this other task that I have, I know I wouldn't have been able to do this show with the energy that I have right now. But I said, okay, you're going to have to learn how to work smart and not hard. And so I told myself before I left, I said, you're gonna set a day where you clear your entire calendar, your work calendar, and you're gonna come in here and you are gonna work on this task as long as you can.
Mhm.
And you know, and then once you're done with that, then the next day you can pick up where you left off. And so that's what I'm telling myself. We'll see how that works out.
I'll follow with you next week to see how it goes.
Because you know how it is when you are a leader, you know,
Yeah.
when you are a supervisor, you know, other people's fires become yours. So yeah.
Lady Kim, one of the things we have to think about is, you know, what you value. Some people value time, some people value accomplishments, some people value
Mhm.
praise, some people value achievements. When you think about what you value, that really dictates what pace you go at and how far you go. So for somebody that values
Mhm.
family or somebody that values time, it's like, I'm not going to wear myself thin to do these things, especially when they don't add value to me, when it takes away from time. And so when we think about our values really should be guiding us towards these decisions we make, and not the task or not the idea of achievement or.
Yeah,
So I think that's important for us to think about as well.
it really is. Because sometimes we just don't value ourselves. We don't value our time. We don't value, you know, our rest. You know, we just
Mhm.
don't.
Mhm.
We like you said, we put all of our emphasis on others, pleasing them, making sure that they're okay, making sure that the babies are okay, making sure the husband's okay, making sure the people at the church are okay, you know, and I may be sitting here struggling,
Yeah.
you know, and not and this is the other thing too, is struggling and not allowing myself to show my vulnerability, to
Mhm.
show that I'm struggling, to tell
Mhm.
someone I'm struggling, to tell
Yes.
someone, you know what, I need you. Me and my best friend, we have a thing. We call each other. We go, I'm about to jump off the curb. Pull me back. And that lets each other know that we are at our limit,
Mhm.
you know, or something is really working us, that, you
Mhm.
know, we need to kind of like talk about it and work through it with each other.
Mhm.
But whenever I
Mhm.
say to her, or she says to me, yeah, I'm about to jump off this curb, that's it. When I jump, that's it, you know. And so that's one of the ways that we help each other in that way. So vulnerability,
Mhm.
I know that has been a struggle for me,
Yeah.
to show people that I get weak, you
Mhm.
know, I get
Mhm.
tired, I get sad, you know, I don't always feel, you know, like I got it all together, you know, and I think if we as women would show each other that, like show each other our scars, you know, where we're wounded, where we're hurt. And I know that's not always easy, because
Mhm.
sometimes we have trust issues, you know, and so those trust issues kind of run interference with me being vulnerable. So
Mhm.
I can't say to you, you know what, I struggled with this today, Dr. E. You know, I'm not at my best today, you
Mhm.
know, and you've done that in some of our leadership meetings. And that was like, that revolutionized my way of thinking
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
when people ask me, how
Yeah.
you doing? I'm like, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm fine. And you know, one time you were like, I'm not at my best, you know, I'm struggling today. And I was like,
Mhm.
wow. And I don't think poorly of you. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
we get caught up in that. It's like, oh, they're going to think that, you know, they're not going to like me anymore. Or they're going to
Yeah.
think badly of me, or whatever the case is, you know. So what do you think about that?
I think
How
a
can
lot
we
of
show our vulnerability?
So a lot of the work that I do, Lady Kim, with, you know, I always say I'm in the relationship business, right? Like I'm in this
Mhm.
relationship with people, and a lot of times I'm the catalyst to healing. And so being able to create space for somebody to feel safe enough to talk about what's going on, but also to guide them through their own emotions. Sometimes looking at how you feel is scary because you don't know how you feel. You don't have the
Yeah,
emotional literacy. Nobody ever taught you that anger is a secondary emotion. And maybe that's the narrative that you've attached to that emotion. And that's why you're angry. When in fact, I've
yeah,
heard or I'm embarrassed, or I'm grieving. And so I think a lot of that is about how do we start to develop the emotional literacy and the courage to be vulnerable. And, you know, a lot of us have attachment issues. A lot of us
Yeah.
have endured childhood issues, you know, trauma. We didn't have a good relationship with our caregivers growing up. We were abandoned. And so that really shapes your perspective of, why should I trust you if I couldn't trust the people that I should have been able to trust?
Yeah.
And that goes
Yeah.
to a deeper level of like, how can I trust this God that I can't see? And you'll be
Ooh.
amazed at saints that are like, you know, I don't know how to be vulnerable. My question is, well, what is your worship like? Because if I
Mm.
can't lay down at the altar and I'm not able to be vulnerable with God and invite him into my pain or into my confusion with my word so he can activate and move, what is happening? And so I think a lot
Yeah.
of times as Black people, we do struggle with vulnerability because there hasn't been a whole lot of psychological safety for us to show up authentically without the
Mhm.
fear of being judged or criticized or somebody telling your business. And I think
Yes.
when I've had that, right, that hurt because we've trusted the wrong person, or, you know, we've confided in somebody and now our business is up and down the street.
Yeah.
And so, and that turns into shame. I think we do have a lot more work to do that we have to do around being
I
vulnerable.
think so. I do. I totally agree with that, because it really is something that it, you know, is as good a friend as a couple of my friends
Mhm.
really were and are to me. It took me years into that relationship to say, girl, I am whatever it was.
Mhm.
To like just say, this is what's happening in
Mhm.
my world,
Mhm.
you know, instead of trying to protect people and situations, and
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
really just laying down, you know, where I'm hurt, you know,
Mhm.
the places where I was just devastated. And when I did that, I was like, what took me so long? I feel
Mhm.
so much better being able to say that to someone. And then I have had people not be vulnerable with me, and you know, they're like, one really good friend, and we kind of lost touch.
Mhm.
No beef or issues, but we just lost touch. And when I tried to reach out to her, she said, I was too embarrassed to get back with you because this happened in my life and that happened in my life. And I was like, girl, hold up. Let me give you my laundry list of what has been happening in my life in the last 10 years,
Mhm.
you know? And so she was like, wow, I didn't know that. And I
Mhm.
said, I didn't know that about you either, but I
Mhm.
would have never judged you about it. But, you know, she didn't know that. You
Mhm.
know, we had been away from each other for a good period of time. So yeah,
Mhm.
that vulnerability, you're right. It's a lot of work that we need to do. I want us to talk about this last thing, and
Mhm.
then I want you to talk about your practice. I want you to talk about your, oh my God, I was reading in your workbook. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. We got to do a show on your workbook, okay?
Yes, I
Then
love
I want you
to.
to talk about your essential oils, okay? So we just got a
Yes.
10-minute warning. But I think a lot of this superwoman syndrome and everything, really a lot of it is about us really seeking and trying to find balance
Mhm.
in our lives, you
Mhm.
know, and that's not the easiest thing to do. Finding
Mhm.
balance is not easy because, like you mentioned before, it's about the priorities that we have. What are
Mhm.
we prioritizing? You know, what's important to us?
Right.
Is rest important to us? Is looking like, you know, we're winning? Is you know, looking like we're rich? Or, you know, what is that? What is it that is so important? Is it, you know, your family important? Is your job more important than anything? What is it? Climbing the ladder, is that more important? And so the balance, how do we as women, you know, how do we find balance? And then when you try to find the balance, how do we maintain it? You know, it's one thing to find it, but it's
Mhm.
something else to kind of keep it going.
Yeah, I think even remember we had talked about in that big meeting the wellness continuum, and I think something as simple as being able to know where you are and being able to figure out what does balance look like when my husband
Mhm.
and I are communicating, when the baby's laughing, when, you know, all our bills are paid and I feel like I can take all the things that are on my plate and manage them. Is that balance, or is it when I'm spiritually balanced and I'm emotionally balanced and mentally balanced, I feel like I can do what needs to be done and a little extra. I think balance looks a lot different for all of us. And we
Yeah.
have to be mindful that our mental and emotional well-being will suggest to us when something's off. And so when our mental health is poor, when we're stressed, we're anxious, we're tense in our body, our shoulders are tight, our jaws are tight, we're not sleeping, something's off. And so if we don't tune into ourselves and look at what's off and use this emotional literacy to say, where am I hurting and what am I feeling that's suggesting there's a need that's not being met, we'll never know. We'll be disconnected from ourselves and we'll never be balanced. And so I think the big part is being balanced with self, being balanced spiritually, being balanced physically, and then also being able to look at what's on my plate and how am I spreading my time across all these priorities.
Yeah, that's good. You know, I can always tell when I'm like struggling when my car is junky.
You know, but that's true.
When
Like
when I cannot pull all that stuff out of my car, I'm like, I don't care.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and I think too, even the house, you know, like organization feels healthy and balanced, you know, not that everything be perfect, but it feels safe. It feels like I can move around. And
Yes.
what does it look like when your car, my car's always a mess. My husband one day went car washing through all my stuff out. And I was like, what are you, where's my stuff? He was like, I threw all that away. I'm like, that's my stuff. He threw
Right.
out. And I was like, wow, because this is what balance looks like for you. I had French fries, I had shoes, I had
Oh,
paper.
wow.
He dumped
Yeah.
all that stuff out and it was a clean slate for me. And so I realized, okay,
Wow.
maybe standard.
Okay.
He was like, when I first met you, you would never have your car like that. And I was like, ding,
Wow.
ding, ding. I'm not
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. 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 Because when I got out of my car today, I was like, okay, you need to you rolling up on a like okay, it's time to get some real rest, Kim, you know, because it's just been a lot going on, you know, for me, not just at work, but just in a lot of areas of my life, you know. I feel fine, but I know I'm tired. You
Yeah.
know, so that means I need to get some more rest. I need to go to bed, you know, and stop trying to fix everything late at night, you know. So that's something that I'm working on. I'm working on trying to get myself just really acclimated to a really good bedtime and just go, you know,
Mhm.
even if I don't sleep, at least I'm resting.
Okay.
So
That's
these
right.
last 5 minutes, I want you to talk about, I want you to talk about your workbook real quick. I want you to talk about your essential oils. Yes.
You love those oils.
I
That is
do.
so we started this practice in 2020 during the pandemic, and we're coming up on 5 years. And so Edison Family Counseling Center has been around, and it's been a lot of work. I think I've learned a lot just being in business by myself and learning to ask for help and realizing I don't know everything. I think a lot of times you go to school and you think I'm going to school to be a clinician. You're not going to school to be a business person. And so you can't do anything without a team. I was telling my niece that earlier, like you have to have a team around you to be able to do some of those things. And so one of the things I did early on in the practice is a lot of the clients that I was working with opted not to take medication, and they acknowledged that there was some things that were off. And so I had this bright idea. I love essential oils. I love lavender. I love all of these things. And so I had this bright idea, like, what if I started this essential oil line and created this oil to help people combat depression and anxiety? And so I got with this chemist up in Washington, and he made some blends for me. And I mean, I just went crazy. And so one of the things I wanted to do was to send those wellness packages out to my clients to let them know this is something you can use between session. But the symbolism is that you were inviting me into your space. And so you would look at those oils and you would say, oh, okay, that's a reminder of what wellness feels like. What experience did I have with Dr. Edison that I can find in this oil? And so that was important to me. And then lastly, some of the work that I've been doing over the past few years is really helping people recover from childhood emotional neglect and abandonment, and really helping them develop the emotional literacy skills to really start to move forward in their lives. I believe when God does something, he does it well, and it's
Yes.
done once and for all. And so this idea, my logo really is about being healed, because God can heal us. Just like, the man who was blind, he said, "What do you see?" He said, "I see men that look like trees." He touched him
Yeah.
again, and that was a done deal. So I really
Right.
do believe when you are connected and you open up your heart and mind to being healed, it is a possibility. We're always on this healing journey. There will always be something else. But I think you identify where you're hurting, you figure out a way to become well, you identify how to renew your mind so that you are whole. And if you ever fall off the wagon again, you just get back on and you just figure out, where am I?
Yeah.
Let me seek healing, wholeness, and wellness. And that's it. That's me. That is what I want to do. Of course, I'm not perfect as a clinician. I'm not perfect as a person, but one thing I do want is for people to be well. And I think people who know me, I've been saying, "Oh my gosh, that person's not well." I've been saying that for years. And
Wow.
they probably weren't, but we have the opportunity, and we have so much information in front of us, Lady Kim, to be well, right? We can take baths, we can connect to the earth, we can take deep breaths. I think what I've learned recently is the power of being able to connect with yourself and your breathing. There's so much around us that we're not in control of, but one thing I am always in control of is the
That's so
decision
true.
to connect to myself and start breathing. And so I just love that idea. One thing that I always say is, you go with you everywhere you go, and you're your
Mhm.
oldest friend and your constant companion. And if you don't take care
Wow.
of it, who's gonna do that?
I love that. You're your oldest friend and constant companion. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you. This has been an amazing time. I tell you, this has been good. Um, and you definitely got to come back.
I would
Definitely you have to come
do.
back. Please come back. But I'll tell you just quickly before my producer cuts us. No, he's not going to do that. um, I have my decanter, my oil, right at my front door. So I
Mm,
want everybody to be okay once they cross that doorway, and I'm always flipping the little sticks and
yes.
making sure that it's right there at my front door. There I have a little like a little shelf there, and I put it right there. So that's where it is.
Yes.
And I'm appreciative of it. So thank you again, Dr. Arease. Thank you. For being here tonight. Thank you for just being you. Thank you for
Oh,
being amazing. Thank you for being caring and loving. And thank you for just loving and caring about me. So
yeah.
that's it for tonight, you all. Thank you for joining us tonight on It's Just Kim. Look, we ain't your superwoman, right? And
Not at all.
so we are going to find balance, and we're going to make sure we learn how to say no and take care of ourselves, not compare ourselves to anyone or anything. So until the next time, you all take care and you stay safe.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.